Good evening. This is John Warren, publisher of the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint newspaper, coming to you with our program from the desk of the editor. We like to always remind you that the Voice and Viewpoint is now San Diego's oldest African American publication, and we are available both in print and online. In print, we're in 17 cities, unincorporated areas, and 89 zip codes, and online, we're just worldwide. We got people from 184 countries that are tuning in to read the paper online each week. And we were excited about that reach. And we're tracking what people look at, which pages, which stories, how long they stay. We're all over social media. TikTok is just blowing up and exploding, Instagram and all of it. And so it's all, I give all of the credit to a real sharp young staff with outstanding managing editor, Latanya West, who has really pulled it all together. So, Dr. Thompson, here we are. We got some things to talk about, but we don't want to shortchange you.
Well, Dr. Warren, it has been a whirlwind beginning, and now we're looking at the end of the year. We are in the last month of 2025. So much has gone on, so much has changed, but one thing that we rest assured is God is still on the throne, and everything is all right in the midst of it all.
It's all right, and he's in charge. And once we remember he's in charge, everything else just falls right into place.
Amen, amen.
So we're excited, and we want to invite you, this is an open mic night, and so if you have something that you want to discuss or a question you want to ask, you can come to 858-251-6111 in terms of dialing in, and they'll get your question, get you on the air. Or you may go to godradio1.com, and then we are streaming as well on a platform. So we're excited, and this is a wind down. We got a lot of things that are getting ready to jump off here. This week we have this Saturday, this great event at St. Stephen's Cathedral, where Mr. Mark Jenkins of Preferred Cremation is having his annual Christmas Jazz Extravaganza, which is just outstanding and is open. All you got to do is just show up, and it's a great event. And so we're excited. By the time we get into next week, we're going to be into all kinds of Christmas activities that are going to be taking place. And we're excited about those and what we're doing here. We are just coming out of blessing a lot of families for Thanksgiving, and it was just amazing to see the volunteers and the food that was gathered and distributed. One of my favorite places was Praise and Glory at the Malcolm X Library, where those ladies for the 7th year transformed that into like a dining room, and all you had to do, family or individuals, just come in and have a seat, and they served you a scrumptious meal, okay, already cooked. All you had to do was sit there and eat it and enjoy it. And so it was amazing watching them, how they had some 25 volunteers, and they worked to make that happen. Many, many turkey giveaways we saw, and I know one of my favorite events was the one at Pilgrim, which Connecting Hope does, Pastor Ray Smith and all of the volunteers over there with Pastor Darnell Townsend. And they really did hook people up with turkeys and potatoes and all kinds of foods that really make the whole thing worthwhile. And so it was exciting. We visited a lot of these outlets, Latanya and I, on the last Saturday before, and then to know on Thanksgiving that when you sat down to eat, that other people are eating because of your efforts. And so that was extremely gratifying.
Yeah. And, I want to send a shout out to the 10th anniversary of Mama B's, Janelle Wynn, that we know, we call her Mama Bear. But she worked tirelessly leading the efforts for 10 years. Her hustle, her ability to get people to give. This year, she said she wanted to give 100 baskets out, and it was just good to watch her vision. You know, a lot of time people come to you and say, "This is my vision," and you say, "Okay, whatever way we can support you in." But when it comes down to Janelle Wynn, Mama Bear, she gets out there, she gets in the street, she buys, she negotiates, and then she watches God move on her behalf because turkeys were higher this year.
Yes, they were.
And one of the beautiful things is that she went to one of the major stores, and they said, "We see what you're doing." And they said, instead of us charging you what we would normally charge the public, we're going to give it to you at the wholesale cost of what we paid for.
That's
so
great.
that you can get as many turkeys as you need. And then they said, and next year, we want to make sure you get into our grant program so that we can just buy them for you. And so her hustle, Mama Bear's hustle and her vision, as she celebrates her birthday by being able to give back.
And she did some 100 baskets.
Yes.
And when we say baskets, we really mean baskets, like those plastic laundry baskets that you see. To see all those baskets lined up with food filled to the hilt. And as people came to pick up a basket, they had pre-registered. They were given a turkey along with it. My biggest concern, Dr. Thompson, and you know I've been on it ever since that day, was to go over there to Porter and find in the all-purpose room that the building was dark on the inside. The lights had been out for weeks there. Little lights had to be set up to give some illumination, and you had to take the baskets to the door to give the people. And I was appalled at that. That was just totally unacceptable. I've been involved in education many years. I was a school board member in D.C. for over 10 with some 35 schools in my district. And then I was a member of the board of the National School Boards Association with 90,000 board members around the country. And so I spent a lot of time visiting schools because when on the Hill, where we did school lunch was authorized by the committee I worked for. Since I was so young looking, I was sent out as an undercover person to various schools. And so I uncovered all kinds of stuff going on. So I was really upset when I saw that these kids had been eating in the dark. And I jumped on the board member who had had some challenges, Dr. Sharon Whitehurst Payne. She had been ill, had some medical issues, but she was still able to talk to me and to push. And so I checked again today, Dr. Thompson, because we did this at the week that all the kids were away for Thanksgiving. And so today we come and find out there was still problems going on there. And I got back on the phone again and said, we're just going to blow this up. I'm going to go over there in the morning with cameras and video and just load up the darkness while people are trying to eat. And so Dr. Payne got on the call again. She got on people. And about an hour ago, I got a call from someone in the school system telling me they had been there all day working on it. And they plan to have they've done half of it. They're going to get the other half done. I said, well, we appreciate that, but there's no excuse, and we want a serious investigation when this is over as to how this could take so long. Because at first, in my earlier calls today, they were trying to put the blame on the paperwork. And I said, that dog won't hunt because the SDG&E has crews 24 hours a day. And if this school had been located in La Jolla, it is no way those kids would have been sitting there eating in the dark. And then they tried to talk about, well, the building was old. And you and I say, no, that building wasn't old because we remember when they built a Porter. And it is not old. It's not 25 years old. So, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, Dr. Warren, I think what's more important is that I don't even know if it was an SDG&E problem. I believe that it was definitely a San Diego City Schools problem.
It was.
In the sense of replacing the lights and coming out. We have full maintenance crews in San Diego Unified School District, but it is about priority. And for it to be out for over a month and nobody had made it a priority, some people will say, well, the kids don't always eat in there. They eat out under the lunch court. But it doesn't make a difference.
Not the point.
The point is that if we're talking about replacing bulbs that went out because of a power outage, that means that there is an assignment. And then there also has to be what we call priority. And sometimes in the district, they say, well, we're backed up and we don't have that. But then there's what we call priority, something that is either a health hazard or unsafe, and it should have been elevated to a priority. What disturbed me more than anything else, when you went up the ladder, there were so many people that when they started going down the ladder that had no idea that it was taking place. And that's a travesty when you have an area superintendent that has the schools that they're over and they don't know about it and go all the way down. So it bothers me that we always have to fight this way. And this is something that I think that we have to be very mindful of, even with our parents. Many times they say, well, the parents over in the community are this and they're that. No, the parents over in the community
No.
respond after a while when they've been ignored so much. They give you something that you don't want, and then you want to say that they're not friendly and they're hostile. But it's not that. They're finally fed up. And we should not have to pitch a fit for our children and our schools to be treated fairly and also humane.
No, you're absolutely right. And I'm still going to be by there in the morning to check on it, to see what it looks like, and I'm going to stay close. And we're being polite, but the principal's been missing in action on all this too, and it's just not acceptable. I've been in too many schools for too many years to see this kind of thing. It always kind of reminds me of if you travel and you go to a hotel that's got some construction going on, and they got little signs up about please excuse our disruption and everything, but they're not giving you a discount for it. You are still paying the high price while they go through all of the inconvenience. And so and in this case, to talk about after the power outage occurred, that it was the lighting. Well, you can't tell me you don't have light bulbs for that place, because if you don't, then logistically there's something wrong. And so the guy that called me today, they were on it. You're gonna find out what happened, and I didn't, beat him in the ground, but I said, this is not over. We're going to know who dropped the ball on this.
Yeah.
Because that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing about it, when I was started in the district at Knox Elementary School, the one thing that I appreciated about my principal at the time, Myrtle Fawcett, is that when it came down to her school and her kids, she was a no-nonsense player.
Right.
And she was very matter of fact, and she had no problem getting in her car and going down to the district and getting what she needed and come back. And she literally was a mentor to me and showed me how to navigate the institution of San Diego Unified School District. And what I loved what she said to me when I first came into her office, she said, now let me explain something to you. You're brand new into this system. So you have 3 years to ask for forgiveness and before you can be held responsible. So I'm going to need for you to be my forgiveness person, because we're going to break a whole bunch of rules to get what we need to get done.
Right.
And you got to say, oh, I didn't know. Please forgive me.
Yeah.
But it's the funny thing about understanding that to get certain things done, you have to really toe the line. And the bottom line is, if you tell me that you don't have lights to replace the lights there, then what Myrtle Fawcett would have done is she would have went online and found the lights, bought the lights, then come and told you to install them, and then give you a back bill.
That's right.
For pain and suffering and everything else.
Yep.
To take away the excuses. So I think that is so important. I know in a big democracy, we have to find out how we can take away the excuses and still treat our children humanely, because in any other district north of 8, those lights would have been on the very next day, even if they would have had to import the lights.
And Dr. Thompson, let's just stick with the area for a moment, because on Black Men United, we were talking about the Christmas lights going over the bridges, okay? And we used to have like at least 6 bridges that we had those lights over. And the closest bridge right there to Porter was right at 47th and Ocean View, which no longer has lights.
Wow.
Okay. And they put it on Caltrans. And so when I pushed the point at our Black Men and Women United meeting, I was told that Caltrans had cut us from 6 bridges to 3 bridges, and that people living under the bridges were stealing electricity and running lines off of it and the whole bit. And so here's another example of us being penalized because of where we live. And that's not acceptable. Because I remember when my son went to I'm on the air, Dolores. My son went to um, uh, Mount Airy, and my son went to Mount Airy, and I remember there was a time that we wanted to do pizza for the kids there
Mm-hmm.
to celebrate someone's birthday. And we called Pizza Hut, and they told us that they didn't deliver in that area,
Mm-hmm.
which is just crazy. I mean, just the discrimination based on where we are. Our kids were just as entitled. You know, the school was just as safe, but yet you're going to get this kind of attitude. And so I think that all of us have to pay closer attention to how we're being treated, especially in this Trump era,
Mm-hmm.
because in the Trump era, it's become blatantly clear that racism is okay
Mm-hmm.
and racism is in.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that in terms of what just happened this week and last week with 19 countries that have had their immigration terminated, and the efforts underway in Minnesota to round up the people from Somalia to deport folks, don't care whether they have citizenship or not. And all of this is just crazy. And the Afghan people who were vetted both by Biden and Trump are now being rounded up to be sent out of the country. And so this is just it's just crazy. We can't wait till they come for us. We have to respond when they come for the people around us.
Yes, and that's why it's very important that we realize that we're going to have to register voters at an all-time high, so that we can get involved and change the course of where we're at in America now. They're starting to say that more of Congress is starting to get fed up with the Trumpian era, and they're starting to break ties. But we have not literally physically seen it yet.
Well, it's not that they're fed up with Trump. They are now seeing from the elections, like the special election in Tennessee, where this lady, Trump won the area by 22 points, and she only lost by 2 points. So there is a big change that's taking place in terms of people responding. It took things like the Epstein files to really wake them up. And I think that Mike Johnson is in trouble. They indicate that at least 40 members of the House, both Democrat and Republican, have said that they are going to quit and that they're not going to come back in, run again. And so there's only like an 8-vote margin between the Republicans having control and what it needs to happen for Hakeem Jeffries to become Speaker and take that control.
Now, what do you think about Marjorie Greene not running?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene saw the handwriting on the wall, and I think that in seeing the handwriting on the wall, you know, she jumped on the bandwagon with the Epstein files. She jumped in there with the women, but she's still conservative and crazy, and she's trying to come back home before she leaves. She says she's going to resign January 5th, and that will be the loss of another Trump seat. And all they need is about 7 or 8 of them to follow her suit, and the control of the Congress will shift right in midterm. And so that's very significant that we're at the verge of that. Now, speaking of it, it's becoming increasingly clear from the news that Trump is really not in charge. And today on MS Now, they were showing all kinds of scenarios where he was falling asleep through meetings. When asked about people that pardoned, he said he didn't know them, he didn't have any idea. These are the same people that were on Biden as if he had problems. But Trump is clearly disengaged, falling asleep, even sitting there in his cabinet meeting next to Marco Rubio. And, now the big question is who's really running? Is Steve Miller probably in terms of who's running? And if that wasn't enough, you're going to have to pull Hesed out because of that second bombing that he did, which violated all the rules of engagement and amounts to a war crime killing people who were in the ocean hanging onto a boat trying to survive, and Trump threatening to invade Venezuela in a land invasion, and there's no reason. Nobody has shown any proof of drugs being on the ships or anything. So,
Well,
he's just. How long, America, will it take you all to wake up? If this was anyone else, they would have invoked the 25th Amendment. They would have declared him unfit for office, and they would have removed him.
now let me ask you this question, because they're talking about war crimes with the blowing up of the Venezuela vessels, but they're trying to come after Pete Hegseth for once they blew up a boat, they still saw survivors, and he basically they said ordered the no survivors, and they then bombed it again.
Well, that's where the war crime occurs because
Okay.
under international law, you cannot kill people who are surrendering. And under the law of the sea, which is equally as important in this situation, you can't do it. And so he's on record with them coming back around with the drone to do the second strike, even after the boat was destroyed. No one has yet to show that any drugs were taken in, that the Coast Guard should have come and picked those people up. And how are you going to declare that they're enemy combatants when we're not even in a state of war? And then you're trying to threaten, Mark Kelly and the other members of Congress, many of them are former military. You're trying to threaten these people that you're going to bring them on active duty and court martial and bring criminal charges, and they ought to be shot and executed. And none of this stuff is acceptable. If it was anybody else, the president would be impeached and out of there. And so, yeah, a lot of what's happening right now, we need to pay attention to because while that's happening in Washington, one of the latest targets is coming after California. We have Cal Fresh here, which is how we get the federal dollars for our nutrition program. And because we will not give them the name, addresses, phone number, and household occupants so that they can turn them over to Homeland Security, now Trump is threatening to cut off all of the funding for Cal Fresh. So people are going to starve. Well, this is consistent with what he did beforehand when we were in the shutdown. So clearly he does not care about people, about who suffers or whatever. He has no concern. And there's a poetic justice in this because a lot of the people who are being hurt the most are people who voted for him. And why did they vote for him? It was racism. It was the racism factor because he has not lived up to anything that he said he would do. Now he's saying affordability is fake and that the Democrats are responsible. But, people are paying so much more for food and housing and about to lose health insurance, and we're going to be impacted here. I've been studying our housing situation, and if we don't get some relief from Washington going into next year, we're going to have a lot of people that are going to lose their vouchers and be turned out into the streets.
Well, Dr. Warren, I want to go back to the statement that you made because I know we've talked about this in the past, but could Donald Trump have won? Because you said it's based on racism. Could Donald Trump have won if black men didn't jump on the bandwagon, the Latino population didn't jump on the bandwagon? Could he have won outright if the people that should have known better or should have made
I'm
better,
on the air, Charles. No.
could he had won? And as much as racism played a major role, I also want to look at defectism, people that defected from the overall charge of knowing that this man was not going to be for their culture group.
They knew that he wasn't going to be. They knew that he was incompetent and inept when they voted for him. They knew it when he started doing stuff like bringing music on stage at the gatherings and just kind of wandering all over the place and the whole bit, while, Kamala Harris, on the other hand, is giving people specifics in terms of what we're going to do, how we're going to help the country, and what's going to take place. They knew that he was going to this was his key. His key was immigration. And all of these good old boys were tired of seeing an increased number of people of color coming into this country. And they felt like the floodgates had been opened. And in many instances, they might have been, because there were people coming up from South America through the Bering Straits. I mean, just by the train loads, on top of the trains and the whole bit. And sure, they shut that down and they stopped people from coming, so that was good. But it didn't have to go the rest of the way that it did. He could have been a great president if he had just had the party move. Remember, before the election, there was an agreement between the House's Democrat and Republican Party on immigration, and Trump would not let them bring the bill up for a vote because he wanted to be an election issue. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so, and now look at what's happened to the good old boys. You don't have the market for your soybeans. You got the high tariff prices. You got beef being imported from South America. You got all of these things that are just going awry, okay, in addition to hospitals shutting down, and no health care, and the Doge movement that went through destroying stuff, trying to kill Social Security and everything else. And so many of these people who are suffering the most, they are the voters of the good old boys. When those women that spoke up about the Epstein file and they met, and one lady made it very clear, she voted for Trump, okay, but yet it took the discharge petition with the Democrats and Republicans. So as Malcolm X would have said, the chickens are coming home to roost. And they are being impacted, but the rest of us are suffering with it. And what the rest of us need to do is we need to register and vote. Register and vote. Register and vote. Do not be dissuaded by anything other than registering and voting. We need to vote Democratic. It ain't about what color tie. Do we like them? Do they speak well? Register and vote.
Now let me ask you a question, because there's still the underlying belief system that Donald Trump stole the election through technology, and there was a time where his buddy Elon Musk said to him said publicly, without him he would not have been in the presidency. So people think that he had something to do with kind of helping to fix the election. And now that he's become very silent, they're saying it feels like he's been paid off with government contracts to be quiet, and he's going to sit back and make billions and billions of more dollars.
Well, he's definitely being paid off, but his board just voted to make him a trillionaire.
Yeah.
And so, and he was mad with Trump by the time he left. And we can't get mad with that. People did punish Musk in the sense that his cars and his stocks dropped, and people stopped. And I don't know if people going back to buying the stuff now. South Africa, where he's from, is the only country in the African diaspora that Trump is allowing those people to come into the country, but they're all white. Mm-hmm. They're all white folks. Yeah. Okay, and so this is a very real scenario. The fact that the man who killed a guardsman was Afghan, had been vetted, had worked with the CIA for over 10 years, was re-vetted by Trump in terms of the country. We still don't know what the rationale was in terms of him coming around the corner and just shooting those two people, which he didn't know. It's not like he had planned to run into them. And so, but at the end of the day, the issue is still guns, gun violence. Last weekend in Stockton, we had 10 people shot, 4 wounded at a child's birthday party. And we've gotten to the point now that the mass shootings, we don't even report them anymore. We don't even pay attention to them.
Well, what troubled me is the narrative of how things are being done. Every time that it seems to be a woman, a white woman that gets hurt or gets killed, the young lady from the National Guard, which is a tragedy. It always starts off, this beautiful soul was taken away. And then it went to Chicago when the man stabbed the lady on the train. Again, black man, and all of a sudden this beautiful young lady in the prime of her life. And I'm like, true. But then I go and I look at all the black women that have been traumatized and killed by other people that did not look like them, and we never hear a word.
Well, you had that happen right here in San Diego. I remember about 15 or 20 years ago, there was a rapist going around Ocean Beach or Pacific Beach, one of the two beach communities, and he was breaking in apartments where the single women lived. It was in the summer. They were sleeping with the windows open and the shades up, in the summertime. And so after a couple of rapes occurred, then the police got involved going door to door with flyers. Well, we have black women assaulted all the time. Ain't gonna see nobody going door to door out here in Southeast concerned about what's happening to a sister in terms of what's going on. And this is something that we need to pay attention to because it's really up to us. It's up to us to make the difference. This is how Black Men and Women United got started back in 2004, some 21 years ago, because we got concerned that two black women were killed on New Year's Eve stopping at a store after coming from church to get some milk and bread. And so we can be mad about what's happening, but at the same time, we've got to police ourselves, okay? Mm-hmm. And we have to make sure that we are not continuing to kill ourselves for them.
Yeah. And we also have to be able to tell our own story and our own narratives. I know that just recently I heard someone talk about how certain schools get certain attention, certain people tell the stories about other schools. And my question was to them is that what have you done to tell the story? If you want more press, or if you want more people to know what you're doing, stop waiting for everybody to come. Create it yourself. And I know one of the things about the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint is that if you cover a story and they know the story is authentic and you take good pictures, they will look at it and they will give you air. They will give you, what do you call it, space in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and this is the thing that you have to understand, and I found this out the hard way, Dr. Warren, is that I don't know anywhere in San Diego where you can go get a Union Tribune. You know what I'm saying? I had a young athlete listed in the newspaper, and the only place I could literally get a copy of it was if I got a digital subscription for the newspaper. And but the one thing about it is that it's so beautiful. You can still find places, in San Diego, newsstands and places where you could go pick up a Voice and Viewpoint.
Yeah, we still, and it's still only 50 cents.
Yes.
Because the UT is like $2.75 and Wall Street Journal is $5 or $6 for a print copy. Mm-hmm. And the UT is just dogging people about trying to get them to sign up, calling 4 and 5 times a day for the whole bit. And they will continue to print some papers, but you're right. The paper is smaller, it's hard to find. If you don't get it in today, you'll miss stuff, as opposed to Voice and Viewpoint has a 7-day shelf life and beyond. And so you can get it in the library, you can get it at church, you can get it at senior centers, you can get it at schools, you can get it just about anywhere.
Wait a minute. And we still have a headquarters right here in San Diego, so you can actually go to the headquarters.
Yeah, you can come to the office, and you can get the last 3 or 4 issues, because a lot of people who are traveling out of town, when they come back, they want their past issues of the paper, and you can do that. And people are coming to understand that it's one thing to be on social media, which we are, but social media goes away.
Yes.
Okay? If you want something that you can hold on to, then you need to have your story told with us. And that's what we are working at doing. And it is a challenge in terms of what we do. There are no longer any printers of newspapers in San Diego County. They've all gone out of business. They've lost out. And we have to print in Orange County and have our paper, pay to have our paper transported down here. But that's what it takes to keep doing it, and we're going to keep making print copy available because that's the essence. Now, a lot of major papers in the country have stopped printing. The Chicago Defender is just online. The Atlanta Constitution, which is one of the oldest papers in the country, has gone to just online. And so there are a lot of people that are just online digital, and yet if print was dead, why would people like Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, buy the Washington Post? Okay, and so it's not dead, but we have to support our own. You know, in 1827, Rushworm and them said that we will plead our own case, and it's kind of sad that today in 2025, when the black press is 198 years old, that we have people who don't understand how important it is that we should survive, because once we're gone, there's no wall of protection against the things that happen, and we won't know about it. And who's going to tell the story? Who's going to publish? All right, and we do that every week, 52 weeks a year. We don't take a week off, and we've done it for 65 years. We're going into 66 in January because our story is important.
And you know, one of the things about it, and I always tell people this, Dr. Warren, being that you are a publisher, being that you have been doing it for so long, a lot of times people assumed that because you have the title of publisher, owner, and things of that nature, that you just rolling in dough. You know what I'm saying? And you do it not because it's a passion, but it is profitable. Now, granted, and you're out of your mind if you want to be in a business that is not going to be profitable, but the sacrifice to continue to produce at the level that you're producing, continuing to be innovative, continuing to look beyond what we see right now, and then shifting to meet the current population as well as those that are already there, takes skill, takes love, and it takes passion. Because the reality comes, there are days that there's an overflow. I thank God every time an election comes up, you know what I'm saying, for overflow. But then there's those lean months where people will say, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. And so the first place that most companies will take away from is advertising.
Yes, and there's a lot of money being spent right now on advertising, and most businesses are slowing down and they're hurting in terms of the process. You know, I've recently had people contacting me, wanted to make offers to purchase the Voice and Viewpoint, and you know, it's not for sale. They don't have enough money for me to sell the Voice and Viewpoint. I don't care how many digits they put there and how many zeros. It's not for sale. I see it as a ministry that we have been entrusted with. Our family is entrusted with carrying this forward, and so much of the history of San Diego we have, and there's a whole generation that has no idea, Dr. Thompson. They never heard of Gold Coast. In terms of it, we got a black chamber that has no idea of where they came from or why, and they're not doing the things they could do to help black businesses. And they don't even use our paper. When they do their annual important folks, they put it in the Business Journal. They have no connection to the black community other than the people that they hustle to get money for their so-called resource center. And so we did all of those things 30 years ago without any grants. We paid the rent from the paper for the chamber office. We sat with people who wanted to go in business and help them decide what kind of business they needed to be in because we had the experience. Jerry had been the senior vice president of the D.C. Chamber, and in my senior year of law school, I had been a volunteer with the Small Business Development Center out of Howard School of Business and Public Administration, a school that I helped found in my undergraduate years, even before they got enough money to build a building. And so it's we're not doing it. And you know, we just hit another big bombshell. Anderson Ragsdale closed down. Anderson Ragsdale, as far as my count, was the oldest black business in San Diego. All right? And as of December 1st, they were referring their business to preferred cremation, not taking any new cases. Well, unless somebody can show me something I missed, the Voice and Viewpoint is now the oldest black business in San Diego. The
Yeah.
oldest black business.
And let me make sure that we're very clear on this. Is that the Voice and Viewpoint existed even before you became the owner,
Yes, it
and
did.
so because of that, it goes further back than this your ownership. We go back to what we call legacy, and that's the thing that happens. And I will say even with Anderson and Ragsdale is that we knew personally Mr. Ragsdale and Mrs. Ragsdale. We knew the history, and believe it or not, because he was so close to my personal family, we knew that. And what troubled me is that as black-owned businesses, how do we create legacy? You were able to buy the Voice and Viewpoint to continue the legacy, and it's gone on, and you have put in position or put in a game plan for it to continue on as a black-owned business. Well, the Anderson and Ragsdale, they just put the business up for sale. You know what I'm saying? But what concerned me about that, and this is, knowing, is that there were people trying to make offers to them to buy it and keep it Anderson and Ragsdale
In the community,
and everything else. And there was no return phone calls.
they wouldn't entertain it. They would not. And see, Mr. Ragsdale he came here in 1950 from Oklahoma, and his family had already been in the mortuary business forever. This thing closes down with 130 some years of being in the mortuary business, which is quite a legacy in and of itself. The Voice and Viewpoint goes back to 1960, and even beforehand, because there was the Viewpoint, there was the Voice, and then there were other papers, and the late Earl Davis pulled it all together, bought the paper from Chula Vista Star News, who owned it at the time, because they were trying to use it to get the advertising in terms of the black community. And so here we are. Mr. Ragsdale was responsible with Dr. Kimbrough for fighting the restrictive housing covenants in San Diego. And they were there along with John Johnson, when they started the Urban League here in San Diego. And so these people really paid some heavy dues. When we look at the Jackie Robinson YMCA, we got people like Mr. Rufus, the late Rufus DeWitt and his family. They moved here from elsewhere to try and make that whole thing work. And so we have people who came here at great personal sacrifice because they had a vision and a love for San Diego and for our community. And we have made tremendous strides, but we still have so much more that we need to get done. And now, it reminds me when I see some of these young people here, it reminds me in the Bible when it talks about after Joseph, died, and it says there arose a Pharaoh that knew not Joseph, didn't understand that he had saved the country with all the things that he did in terms of food and feeding people. And a matter of fact, the whole concept of sharecropping comes from Joseph and out of Egypt when he was doing the famine, because when people ran out of money to buy grain, he took their livestock, and then when they had all the livestock, then he let them farm their land and give 50% of it to the Pharaoh. And so he started all of this stuff that we have happening. But today we have people who kind of missed the point.
Yeah. And the thing is, at the end of the day, is that we literally have to realize that if we don't support each other, if we don't do the things that we need to do to see our businesses taking place, and this might sound a little selfish, but the thing that I always say is that if you can go to a Popeyes or a for lack of a better word, Chick-fil-A, all these things, why can't we support other businesses, and take our money and support businesses that are going to benefit our community? We have another young restaurant that's up, Chef Buddha, but one of the things that I did like about what he did is he started off with food trucks and made that successful, and now he has a brick and mortar location. I know how difficult it is to have a restaurant and trying to keep it up to date, keeping employees and everything and making it work. But really, a lot of times, our restaurants that are black owned cannot survive um, in the community. Believe it or not, if we take and many times if we take it outside the community, it's supported by other people because now it's not looked at as this a black-owned business. It's just looked at as a business. So we have to change the narrative in our own community and with the Black Chamber. Our hope is that they will begin to be a part of helping to change that narrative that will say businesses that are in southeastern San Diego are good, they're established, safe place to be, and we need to support it.
Well, not just southeastern San Diego. Black people live all over San Diego County. That's why our paper is distributed all over the county and online in terms of indefinite areas that the paper goes into. I believe very strongly that, we have a sister that owns a Chick-fil-A in Spring Valley. And that's the only restaurant that I know. We know that 20 years ago, the Lewises brought McDonald's here. And in LA, blacks own most of the McDonald's. And so after a while, they sold the McDonald's. They had the one on Euclid, then they had another one up on El Cajon Boulevard. And one of the things that I've noticed in San Diego after almost 40 years is the difficulty of black restaurants surviving has to do with our cultural habits, you see. When Jerry and I hit the chamber and somebody opened a restaurant, not only did we go there ourselves to eat, but we made sure that we booked luncheon meetings of the chamber membership at that restaurant because most black people do not eat out every day. They want to eat out on Sunday, okay? And on Sunday, where are they at? They're at Sizzler's at Golden Corral. Well, Mr. Huffman, who was a founder of the BID, and who started bringing the businesses together, he tried very hard to harness that business with the fried chicken and the foods that he had on Sunday. And our people here just wouldn't go and support it. And it's kind of interesting because in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, there's a place called Tony's. And Tony is a soul food, seafood restaurant owned by an Italian. And I can tell you on Sunday, the people in Tony's kitchen are us, okay? And the folks line up there, when you see the cabbage and the cornbread and the chicken and all of the soul food items that are cooked back there, that we back there cooking the stuff, okay? And so people will flock to Tony. But Tony also has a tremendous sales business because when we used to do gumbo, and when we were in Bonita, and a lot of the charges would come because they knew my ex-son-in-law and they knew Jerry, they would come to the house. She would get a big pot and do the roux and everything, and we would call Tony's and order the crawdads and all that sea stuff, and they would box it and send it by plane, and I would be on the runway when the plane stopped to grab the box and take it home and dump it in the situation. So the Imperial Fish Market, which is going to open again soon, they were a big seller of the products from Tony's. I don't know if they're going to do it again. They never really knew Tony's, but I used to eat at Tony's all the time in Baton Rouge. And so this is what we have to do. We got places like the Jack in the Box at Imperial, at Euclid and Federal that you can't go inside of. It's ridiculous, okay? We're still paying crazy money for Popeyes. Why? Stop eating the stuff. It don't make sense, the price that's there. And we're keeping these people open. And don't even say anything about In-N-Out Burger on Mass Avenue where you come off of the 94. I mean, you can't even turn into the business parking lot for the people out there buying the burgers. And so we're going to spend. But one of the things I noticed over the years, and I hate to mention it this way, but the black shoppers in San Diego lack a sense of loyalty. They don't have a sense of loyalty where they're going to support their own, whatever their own is. And when you look at what happened with Birmingham with the boycott, and you saw how those people walked. They gave up their jobs. They did this for over a year. They stayed true to cause because there's this whole issue about getting a seat on the bus. We don't have that kind of loyalty and commitment here, unfortunately. And people know we don't. They know that we're going to fizzle and that we're not going to last for the long haul. And I think that if we ever turn that around, it doesn't matter what our numbers are, that we're only 6%, because all it takes is one vote to change an election. Mm-hmm. And when we start voting, people are going to find their way back to us.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so one of the things in moving forward in this last month of the year, it is not too late to get activated, elevate your mind, and to literally say, what is my responsibility and what's my duty? We cannot be just to say us for and no more, but we have to literally say that there are going to be sacrifices on both ends. Dr. Warren, there are times, and you've done it, where it's convenient to go down to that little 7-Eleven right down the street from your house and pick up what you need and go back. But sometimes we drive across town to go purchase and shop at people we know that it will be beneficial to, and that we're recycling our dollars. That's going to be the key.
Yes.
That is going to be the key, ladies and gentlemen, and that is the ability to recycle our dollars within our community and in communities and with people that are going to support our community growth. Now, let me say this, Dr. Warren,
okay.
and I want to say this. There are a lot of award shows out there, and there are a lot of galas or people that call themselves galas that are out there. And I celebrate them because for some people, there is a need to receive recognition.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so I celebrate everybody who has an award show, who has it, and let's be very clear, some things are just fundraisers. Other things are purpose. When you look at the Urban League Gala and report, that is a part of their mission. They have to do a report, an annual report. They have to come together as a part of the National Urban League. There are certain things that are expected. You know what I'm saying? But I say this to say that we're getting ready for the Voice and Viewpoint Gala. And the Voice and Viewpoint Gala is different than 99% of the galas you'll ever be at. Because this is a gala that is the griot or the storytellers or the keeper of the flame are awarding people and coming together after a year of telling the story and years of telling the story. So when I encourage people to go to the Voice and Viewpoint Gala, it's not, a fundraiser, because honestly, if it was a fundraiser, the tickets would be $150, $200. You know what I'm saying? But because of the vision of the visionary who's leading the charge, Dr. Warren, he said, no, we're keeping the price right here, right under $100, so that everybody can afford to go. Everybody can afford to dress up. Everybody can afford to be in this presence. And, I'm excited this year more than anything else is because there's a young lady, I call her. She's 93 years old. Miss Terrell at Calvary Baptist Church, has been the mother, daycare keeper of autistic kids, raised so many kids, done so many things, baked enough cakes to bake a church up. You know what I'm saying? And you decided this year to honor her. So when people get to a certain age, folks forget about them. But the Voice and Viewpoint, the vision is honoring those people that help tell the story. And so when I think about how we recycle our dollars, how we recommit ourselves to vision and purpose, I say that everybody needs to get a ticket to the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint Gala this year because, again, Dr. Warren, I love you. But we know that you're not going to be here forever, and I'm not going to be here forever. So we have to encourage, and I'm saying this for you young people, I want to encourage you all to come out and start reconnecting or connecting what we call history so that we don't see another thing like Anderson and Ragsdale disappearing, but we have generations to come.
Well, I appreciate all of that, Dr. Thompson. And of course, Our ticket is only $95. We do recognize people in the community, and it's a 2-hour event. It's first class. Um, Semi-formal black tie is going to be, it's dressy. I always remind people we were the first ones to do a gala in San Diego. We introduced the term, and the term goes to an event that's dress up, first class entertainment. We had entertainment. We had stilt dancers and drummers and dancing and all kinds of things that went with the atmosphere. And so that's a part of what we do and who we are, and why we want to encourage you to be a part of it in terms of the people that we're recognizing. And we're recognizing quite a few this year, and we're inviting back many of our Good Shepherd awardees because someone made a statement that no one had recognized Pastor Wells at Mount Airy, which is not true, because he's a past recipient of Good Shepherd Award, and always came to our events and brought a table. And so I think people should do their homework before they start talking.
Yeah, and I want to say that there's so many different opportunities to honor people throughout our community. And we know that Pastor Wells, we call him the little giant. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Some of the times where he was not able to make it was because of health reasons.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But whatever he has been able to be a part of, him and his beautiful wife, Frankie, they have been there. And so I always share with people that it's not that people are not recognizing people, but, a closed mouth don't get fed. So if you share it, somebody, oh, wait a minute, you know what? Our organization haven't recognized them. Thank you so much. Let us do that. But I want to say that we have to get into the mindset that there's room at the table for everybody. But more than anything else, we don't have to step on anybody else's vision to celebrate our vision. Dr. Warren, you had said that the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint, the young people that are there are taking it to a whole nother level. I personally want to say, I've been following in your footsteps, and I want you to know that the young people here at GOD Radio Mandate Records, they have been taking charge, and I want to send out a shout out to John Tanay, who's on tonight, and Eben, because those young people literally are seeing, and Lecca and all that, they're literally seeing how when you connect with legacy then becomes you.
Yes,
and that's what I'm excited about. Iron is sharpening iron. And so every time you're doing something, I'm like, okay, I see you, Dr. Warren. Let me jump on and get some good stuff.
Well, even before, I know our time is about up, but even before the gala, which is February 13th at, the Point Loma Conference Center, we have the 41st Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast coming up, which will attract between 1,600 and 2,000 people. Last year, I was the recipient of the Human Dignity Award, which is something special coming from the community. And this year, I'm the keynote speaker for the event. And so it's going to be a very interesting day. I sit as a part of the committee that selects the people to get the award. I didn't have anything to do with my getting the award. When I was on that call a year ago, that came from someplace else. Everybody agreed in unison, and there was nothing else to be said. Let me just say...
Well, Doc, let me just say this. And when they tried to give it to you before, you stepped back and said, no, there were two other people that should receive it based on their age and their history.
Yes.
So you had turned down the award so that other people could be honored.
And so now I learned a new word today. I didn't know it before, but on Monday I become an oxygenarian because on Monday I turned 80 years old. And it's really kind of weird, to be in good health and strength. And
Oxygenarian, that's a good one.
Yeah. So someone told me today that that's what I become, one of those. And I'm excited about the legacy opportunities. My children are doing a phenomenal job of working together in the transition. Chida, Charles, Latanya, they work as a team. My wife is there watching them because she doesn't have to be involved in it. And it's very important in terms of what we're doing. planning how we go. We're in the transformative piece. And we are ready to just keep going to a whole different level. And so I'm very excited, and I'm excited about this partnership that we have with GOD Radio, where we're able to collectively match the electronic along with the print. And that's why each week on the front page, there's an ad for this program. And so we are pumping GOD Radio. And on Sunday, you hear our ad. We got to update it now in terms of the age, but we're doing it. And so we just want to invite you to get involved. You can come and join Black Men United. You know, if you are
Don't forget in women. Don't forget in women.
Black Men and Women United. All you have to do is get in touch with the office and let them put your name on the list. And one of the last super things we're doing, Dr. Thompson, is we are now honoring the anniversary of every African nation each month.
Wow.
And so when you pick up the paper, I think we have 3 countries this month that are celebrating their anniversary, and you can get the history and the insight, because if you look at our logo, it says serving San Diego's African and African American community. So we're excited, and we just ask you to get involved. If you buy the paper, just take 1 copy, please. Don't take a handful.
Don't get a handful. You know, it ain't as much as you could grab. It's 1 copy.
No, we have to pay for this. So, and if you're in church someplace, you can get 1 free. So there's no need to steal from the machine.
But see, Dr. Warren, now you're doing advocacy work as well as discipleship.
Yeah.
Because most of the churches in our community gets papers.
Yes, they do.
So if you can't afford to go spend the 50 cents,
go to church.
Go to church.
And you can
get one.
Yeah, get there early.
and so, Dr. Warren, just a couple things. I know we're over our time, but a couple more things. The Martin Luther King issue is coming out when?
It will be out in time for the January 15th breakfast.
Okay.
And at that time, that's a very important week because on the 13th, the Midway will have their Martin Luther King celebration. So we will be putting a special issue on each of their seats, as well as on the 1,600 to 2,000 seats at the breakfast.
Yeah.
And this is probably the last place that you can find documented information on Dr. King, which goes beyond I Have a Dream, because there was much more to him than a dream.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, so much is going on. I want to end off this show by saying, and I want to say a tribute to the young people, mentorship, internships are available to you at the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint, and also here at GOD Radio. We're going to continue to instill the legacy in young people, 1 young person at a time. It will be work, but the work will pay off for you. So we say thank you so much for tuning in from the desk of the editor with Dr. John Warren. It has been our pleasure. Dr. Warren?
Be blessed and keep God first in all your plans.
Have a good evening.